Hi everyone, it's Laura here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video I'm gonna show you how to combine Distress Inks and Oxides to do some tone-on-tone stamping and create a Sato pattern paper effect. To start off my card, I used the second largest die in the Lawn Fawn Stitch Rectangle Stackables to cut a panel for my sky. And then I combined this die with the My Favorite Things Grassy Fields Dynamics to create a panel for the grass. I then used Distress Inks to add color. I am starting from the grass panel, and for that I will be using Twisted Citron Distress Ink. And I am blending the ink from the lower part of the panel and then moving upwards, using a heavier hand at the bottom so that I create a gradient effect. And I will keep building the color and adding layers until I get a smooth enough result. I then started working on the sky panel, and for that I will be using Mermaid Lagoon, Peacock Feathers and Tumbled Glass. I started with Mermaid Lagoon and covered about 1/3 of the panel, and then I used Peacock Feathers to cover the rest of the area. I am working on Fabriano Bristol Smooth cardstock, which usually works really nicely with Distress Inks and Oxides, but I don't know why this time around I had a bit of a harder time achieving a smooth blend. It will not be a problem in the end because I will be using a spray bottle to add some water droplets, and they will draw the attention away from the imperfections in the blending. But I also decided to use Distress Ink in Tumbled Glass to smoothen out the top portion of my sky panel. Once I was done ink blending, I used my Distress sprayer to add some water droplets on my panel. I let the water reactivate the inks and then I blotted it dry with a paper towel. And to add a little bit of shimmer, I also diluted some Perfect Pearls in the color Perfect Pearl using some more water, and then I created some splatters using a paintbrush. And I repeated the same process for the grass panel as well. I then moved on and started working on my images. And for today's card, I am using the Create a Smile stamps Where Your Heart Is stamp set, and later on I will be adding some images from the Lights On stamp set, also from Create a Smile stamps. I stamped all my images on some Nina Solar White cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink because I wanted to do some coloring with Spectrum Noir markers. And for today's palette, I am using the mood board that you can find on the Create a Smile Stamps blog as an inspiration. This mood board was created as inspiration for the Create a Smile Stamps challenge, and you can play along for your chance to win a €25 vouchers to the Create a Smile Stamps store. So if you would like to play along, you will find all the information on my blog, which will be linked in the description box down below. I also wanted to apologize for the audio on this video and for the ones that will come up on the next couple of weeks, because I am currently in Italy visiting my family, and so I am recording the voiceovers through my phone, and the quality might be a little bit lower than usual, but I still wanted to have some content on my channel for you guys, so I hope you'll still enjoy these videos. But coming back to the coloring, I am shading the images as if the light was coming from the top right of the screen, so that the darker areas will be those on the bottom and on the right of the images. You will find the color chart with all the markers I used on my blog, so you can visit my blog again if you want to use that as a reference. And I will now leave you with some music to enjoy the rest of the coloring, and I'll be back when it's time to start working on the card base. Once I was done coloring my images, I stamped my sentiment on this wood sign using my Misty and Memento Tuxedo black ink. And I used one of the sayings in the Where Your Heart Is stamp set. At this point, I could start working on my background. I used the largest die in the Lawn Fawn large stitched rectangle stackables set to cut some watercolor cardstock to an A2 size, and I added some color to it using Distress Ink in Squeezed Lemonade and the ink smooshing technique. And the reason why I use this technique rather than doing ink blending is that on the one hand it is faster, and on the other hand, because the ink is diluted, the final result will be a little bit lighter, and this will play to my advantage when I will come in with my Distress Oxide in Squeezed Lemonade to do some tone-on-tone repeated stamping. And for this purpose, I used the strings and the lanterns in the Create a Smile Stamps Lights On stamp set. And I am also using some acrylic blocks by Studio Katia, which turned out to be just perfect for these stamps. I will be stamping them with Distress Oxide in Squeezed Lemonade, and I will be covering the entire panel with the images, and I am just not worrying about the center because that will be covered by the rest of the elements on my card. And one of the things that I really love about the oxides is that you can do this tone-on-tone stamping over Distress inks, and they will match perfectly. As an afterthought, I decided to add some lanterns to my little scene, so I stamped them on some Nina Solar white cardstock with Memento Tuxedo black ink again. I fussy cut them and then I will color them using the same yellows I used on the rest of the card. And now I am using my Tonic Studio stamp platform and Memento Tuxedo black ink to stamp the strings on the sky so that I can hang the lanterns from the strings. And once I'm done with that, I can go ahead and start assembling my card. As a first step, I adhere the yellow background to a top folding A2 card base, which is cut at 11 by 4 1/4 inches and scored at 5 1/2 inches. I then used my Tonic Studios Funky Tape Runner to adhere first the sky panel to my card, and then after that I adhere the panel with the grass. And for the rest of the images, I used Nuvo Deluxe adhesive and some tweezers to help me position all the images and compose my little scene. For some extra detail, I added glitter to the lanterns using my Spectrum Noir clear overlay pen. And once I was done with that, I used some glossy accent to add some shine and dimension to the lanterns and also to the mouse's suitcase and the van's window and door. And that's it for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments below, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. You can visit my blog for the full list of supplies and I'll catch you guys soon with the next one. Ciao!